Hello, good people. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. Once again, it's your friend here, Richard, and we're back to these amazing communal discussions, conversations about life. Now, I think it's been a week or so when we last had an update on the channel. So the other day I was actually thinking about what I'm going to speak about today, and I think in the last video, I believe I did an episode, and it was I mentioned something within the video along the way that I think touched on the aspect of the world doesn't care. And I feel, and I think that as I've been discussing with friends here and there, on the issue and getting feedback, I thought, okay, this is something that actually we can expound a bit more, and especially in the context of doing business, achieving, tackling those day-to-day, life challenges as we know them. Now, I don't even know, I don't even have a title for this particular discussion yet, but I think along the way, something will come up. Now, think about, because I was thinking about, okay, the aspect of when I'm doing business, right? As a lawyer, as an entrepreneur, and in any aspect of business. So then I was thinking, okay, so if I've, and as I've always had a project or an idea, especially in the startup innovation space of, an app, which in my case is, the lawyer app, of, or any other technology, and this dream is something that I think that is good, it's good for society, and is good for, in the sense that it will make life better, it will improve, the way we coordinate, it will have a positive impact, right, to society. Now, that is me, right? With my goal, with my plan, with my dreams. But the only reason why I'm doing that initially is because, first of all, it's a baby in my head, right? It's an idea that I've conceived in my head. And I think that it's good for the world, right? But I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it in the end to bring it, to the world for people to use, because I am assuming, okay, and back to the research after that, this is something that I need to bring to the world. It's okay. So, fantastic, right? The world is eager to receive that idea, to have it come to life. Now, if I do not make this idea a reality, right? It just remain with me, just an idea, okay, even if I made the effort, like I said, and brought it to life, but it's not successful, or it's not solving a problem, so that means people will not see value in the product, in the idea, in the technology, in the service. They will not use it, right? So fundamentally, it would mean that you're not solving a problem, even when you thought you're solving a problem. However, if it does succeed, right, it also means that the world will embrace it. The world will, be quite happy, be quite see you as a blessing. Obviously, if it's a business, because you're creating value, there'll be a price to it, one way or the other, right? And the world wouldn't mind paying for value in exchange, and what they would pay usually would be money. Now, I use this word, the world, a lot. Obviously, it's it's generalized. I remember as a young lawyer, when we are learning law, I think one of the first things that you study is something called land law, which is typical real estate. And we were being told that land is anything, above it, below it, and, on it. So in essence, what we have, the vegetation and things like that, the hills, the mountains, that's on it, the ocean, that's below it, the clouds, and now, people are going to space, that's above it, right? Now, in the context of land now, closer to, a family unit, that would be, let's say, a house, it would be now fixtures and shutters, and meaning that if you raise a structure on a property, it's part of that land. It's not indistinguishable, right? But also, it goes a bit further, you would learn that land, when it comes down to that, also there is a bit of incorporates like those intangible rights, right of way, things like that. So you find that it's everything. Now I'm bringing that example in the context of the word that I usually use that word, and in the context of the world and what we do, because at the end of the day, for what is above earth, for what is below earth, we belong in this space, right? Now in this space, that's where I think most of our that's the biggest playground that humanity, like on average, we spend so much space, so much time, most of our lives, if not for the most part, is in the space on the between above and below, right? Anyway, unless you're marine or you're an astronaut, you're into space. Now, so in that space of where we're playing as humanity, again, that's where now we find innovations happening, because again, we need to live, and that's purely the problems. We need to solve these problems, and entrepreneurs, innovators, come up with ideas and stuff like that. So when I speak of the world, that's what I'm really speaking of, in that space of humanity, and humanity as humans coexisting, and living, and progressing or otherwise. So I said, I think in the last video, that the world doesn't care. But what I really wanted to communicate, I think, there, and that's why I thought maybe there was need for an additional video on that, was that I think if you start anything, literally anything. You really have to see through it, man. You really have to see through it. There are no two ways around it. It might not matter that you've done all the efforts, you've spent your life savings, and yeah, the world doesn't care. Because you owe the world success, and the world doesn't owe you anything. Collectively, that's what it is, right? But you're doing it for the good of society. Because again, you're not building a product to eat it, to consume it yourself. So you must always remember that even in the difficulty of failing and succeeding, and especially failing especially when you're not meeting your goals, it can really be draining. You must not forget that, yes, indeed, we appreciate what you do. Yeah, but please, by all means, don't blame the world for your failures, in other words. But accept the being embraced by the world for your successes. I think it's important because you've seen success stories where someone says, okay, no one, and if you've seen it happens a lot for people who have actually really made it. They would say the world will not remember your struggles, right? And that's what it is, But the world will remember your failures sometimes. They will really celebrate your success. Now, I think that got me thinking, because if you can't think of it, whose obligation is it? Because if you choose to do something, I think it's not bad after all that the world embraces you when you succeed, and they don't mourn with you. It doesn't mourn with you when you fail, right? Because if you can't think of it, that is the primary purpose for you, taking that step, whether it's in the innovation world, whether it's in anything that you do, right? Because at the end of the day, you're creating value, and I don't think we can create valueless value. Maybe that's a hint for the topic. I don't think there's no such thing as valueless value. So if we get in the business of creating value and having an exchange for value, which is money that you get paid for consumption of your service or purchase of your product. So where there's no value, there's no conversation, I think. And I'm saying this because many years ago, in the early stages of my innovation journey, or rather my, startup journey, entrepreneurship journey, legal practice journey, which is still a continuous process. Especially in the very early stages, my friends will tell you, if you meet the friends who've been working with in the startup space, Edwin and Mark and all these other guys, they'll tell you, like, I'd be so bitter. Like, why wouldn't, people see that I'm actually trying to do something that is good, that is good for community, good for society. Eh? However, they're not seeing value. You haven't created value as far as the world is concerned. That is now the consumer in this sense. How do you expect me to appreciate your efforts? Huh? And I'm not seeing how it's helping me. I'm not seeing value. Difficult as it may be, it's one thing that entrepreneurs need to embrace. It's like the soil, the plant that is underneath, screaming for your, before it breaks out of the soil, screaming for your attention, screaming for your trimming, screaming for your weeding, screaming for protection. You're not seeing it. You really have to imagine so much, or to be informed so much that, and following step by step, growth process. Maybe it's growing, maybe in an aquarium or something, for you to be able to continuously meet its demands or understand. But until it breaks ground, unfortunately, it's breaking ground for you to provide you this amazing avocados in the end of the day, or for whatever fruit it is, Every effort it's doing is for your good. Right? However, you cannot just, of course, if it's a garden, definitely there will be, there's a level of, care that you give, right? But not to the extent that now you're protecting a plant that, because if you're weeding, if you're doing, it's a garden, you, and also there's actually, if it's a farmer, right, it would be under the expectation that if I plant an avocado, this is, I know that for X number of months or weeks or whatever it is, it should be coming out. Okay? So, after a certain time, even a farmer gives up on the plant, they may even decide, forget about this, till the land. And maybe the poor avocado tree is just about to break ground. That's funny. That's a very interesting, actually. I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, that's very interesting. And it gets killed because the farmer knew it would take 2 months, 2 weeks. But perhaps it's delayed because the farmer didn't fertilize well. But so basically what I'm saying, until poof, but once it breaks ground and maybe it's timely, or at least it's a little bit slightly delayed. From that point on, the farmer will protect it as much as they can until maybe perhaps something out of the ordinary happens, but until then, it will be protected from insects, from this, from that, So I think the same way, we should look at the world celebrating success vis-a-vis not even caring about failure, because why should we protect a plant that has not broken ground? Like, ideally, why should a plant expect the farmer to fight for it, and the farmer knows it's supposed to take X amount in incubation? So why should a plant that has not in fact broken ground expect to be taken care of as a plant? So I think in that sense, of course, with the caveat of so many variables, but I mean, you get the point. So thinking about this makes me actually appreciate the fact that you cannot blame society, okay, as an entrepreneur, because it can be very difficult, it can be very tough. But you cannot blame anyone for your lack of success or for your failures. Unfortunately, the journey is tough. There are hurdles, but it's entirely your responsibility. It's entirely up to you. The buck starts and falls with you. If you make it happen, pamoja, as we say in Swahili, we are together. Because at the end of the day, we've created value, we're happy to pay for value. There can be no valueless value, I think. So why do you expect the world not to celebrate when there's value? Absolutely. But at the same time, you don't expect the world not to celebrate no value. No. We may recognize that it's not the world's job to celebrate valueless value, because there's no value in that. So I think that for me, that really helps a lot, because I've been asking myself, because I'm like, okay, so the world is not like the world doesn't care. So I was struggling to find. In fact, I just actually had this breakthrough when I was doing this while shooting, because I feel that is what it is. The only reason that we will feel not appreciated as an entrepreneur, even when you are innovating for the good of humanity, for the better of society, fundamentally, you're creating value. But in the absence of that value, you need to ask yourself, what exactly it is that are you doing? So, because if you spend 10 years writing this book, communicating, trying to put a message out there for maybe to guide a process to cure a disease X, disease Y, but you don't publish it, there's no value. So why should we celebrate valueless value? It would be the same as 0 times 0 equals to 0. So I think, that was for me. Like I always say, I do these videos most of the time, because when things happen and thoughts come to my head, or rather experience things as well, because this is something I picked when I was listening to the last video we did, and I was because I saw that bit of the world doesn't care, and I've always said this. But then, of course, when I saw that also it could also be misunderstood, in the sense that one would think, okay, what do you mean doesn't care? That sounds a bit negative, but I didn't want also to leave it unattended to, because The not caring was purely in the sense of business, because it's not that people don't care that the world is negative all the time, but what I really meant is we can't, we've not, it hasn't happened, you know. Everything else is behind the scenes. So it is our duty post the choice. If you make a choice to do something that you believe in, because let's not forget, and also I'm saying this to try and I think I'm speaking to us in the sense of where I've also come from, like where it's a continuous journey in everything that we do, because I've really been through that. Like sometimes when you're pursuing a goal, sometimes when you're pursuing success, running a business, running anything, I always feel like you always think, like in the process of doing what you do can be very, very tough. Then there's that, but and unfortunately, it may be tough and not even succeed, right? So, because there will always be, you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it either for a client, right? So there's an expected result. If it's positive, way fantastic. If it's negative, boom, the client will not be happy. However, even you will not be happy, but that is the result, you know. Similar to starting a business, similar to innovation, the plan, the desire is for you to make Dream X, is for you to innovate. Why? Maybe there's a drainage problem, right? And you have an innovation that can solve that. Maybe there's a water problem and you have an innovation to solve that. It could be anything. So, yes, the process of you getting that happen, that innovation come to life, is very painful. But at the same time, it won't matter if it doesn't actually come to life, unfortunately. And no one is going to be along the way. We can't be celebrating with you when there's no value yet, you know. Because as entrepreneurs, sometimes you want people to celebrate with you, to be drum rolling with you as you dance to the finish line. If it was, of course, like a racing, if you're doing a marathon, in fact, just picture it as a marathon. The starting and finishing point, right? Now, at least for the marathoners or for the runners, if you're doing 20 kilometers, 10 kilometers, whatever it is, you'll have people along the way supporting you, you know, motivating you. Now, and I think in the world of business, in the world of innovation, for the most part, you don't have those people along the way. And in fact, this your marathon, you're running the marathon for the benefit of the people that are on the sideways celebrating. So imagine you're doing this innovation to benefit the people who should be on the sides, waving, cheering you up. But in fact, those people have walked away. The moment you start, poop, the gun goes, poop. They clear the sideways. Then they go to finish line. So in fact, they tell you, you know. So you know, when you're done helping, doing something for the good of us, let's meet at the finish line. I think that's what that's what I mean by the one doesn't care. This is interesting, you know. Let's meet. Thank you for cooking. Just imagine you're in the kitchen cooking for your friends or family, huh? And guys say, you know what? Us guys are going to go take a walk. Maybe we're going to go watch a movie. Yeah, when we invited this, we invited these idiots, for lack of better words. We invited these, you know, they're at your house. You've invited them. You know, you've actually bought everything. You have prepared. Now, when you start the moment you start, you know, lights on, gas lights on, everything, kitchen lights on, and bear in mind you have an open kitchen. The lights are, the cooking has begun. Great. Call us when the food is ready. Let meet you when the food is ready. Then maybe they step out. Everyone checks out. Say, yeah, let's meet at just give us a ring. We're just outside, maybe at the balcony or something. You know, don't ask us to help you, you know, cut onions or, you know, no. That's none of our business. Don't even ask us to bring you water or even try to cheer up. No. Let's meet at the dining table when the food is ready. When you're ready to serve, call us. Imagine that. And in fact, when the food comes, and don't expect them to say, amazing. If the food is bad, you will see that people won't like it, and they tell you, man, you spent all these hours to prepare, you know, this, for lack of better words, shitty food. Can you imagine that? Imagine that being the scenario. Yeah, it's tough. So what would you do? So you've spent these 2 hours or 3 hours you've been in the kitchen. This is the nonsense you've been cooking. Now it is your money, it is your time, they're at your house. Now, in the context of what I'm trying to say, bring this point back home. The world doesn't care. That is typically what will happen. It's not too bad. You can't be mad at us for not liking your food. Fantastic. The efforts were good, you know. So naturally, in the if it was to be a typical kitchen scenario, obviously people would try to, you know, sugarcoat, lie to you, you know, because I mean there are people being polite. Obviously, if it was a typical strict guests, they would probably even stay with you, just you know. But if it was now the world not caring in that context, they will just, you know, check out on to the next, you know. So it is not your job to blame people for not appreciating your bad food, right? No. For not being with you in the process, because I mean you're cooking for them. You promised us the best brisket ever. Soft nyama, soft beef, soft meat. Then now we have to, you know, we have to bite with our jaws, and in fact you hold one piece and you hold onto a chair before you can, you know, because maybe it's too hard. No, we didn't ask for that. That's not what we signed up for when we came to your house, Richard. That's what I would. So, so it is that difficult acceptance. You must be willing to accept that we will not sugarcoat. We will not. The world will, sadly or otherwise, don't appreciate valueless value because there is no value. Don't expect us to be on the sidelines, cheering you up, and at the end of the day, you don't even finish. You don't go to the crossing line. No. If you end up stopping at the branching off, it's not. We don't want to waste our time standing by the road, cheering you to be a champion. No. But if you cross the line as a champion, and it is actually benefiting us, we are with you, right? So, so my very good people, do not take things too personal in business. It is, we hear these things by there a lot, we spoke them a lot. So we said, we say these things a lot. But do you really sit down and reflect and think about that? Do you take the time to like sit down and really ask yourself, why am I doing X? Am I doing it for me? Or am I doing it, for everyone, including me? Because if you're baking a cake for the world, you're baking a continuous cake. You can't be the only consumer. Certainly, you don't. It doesn't mean that you have a universal taste. So, you must always think of creating value for your consumers. If they don't see value, we say poleni sana in Swahili. Too bad. Sorry. But do not blame us. Don't just you can't put that blame on the consumer. Like I would, this topic is dear to me because I'm in it. I've been in it. I've gone through it. I've lived it. And in fact, at the end of the day, you owe it to the world. In fact, you should apologize to the world if you promise value, you don't end up getting value. Because there are so many things that need solutions. There are so many challenges. There are so many gaps in in innovation, right? That would make living a better experience at as little a cost as possible. Now you, on the one hand, you've given us hope that you bridge gap X. Create affordable walking. Huh? Innovate, in the fintech world. Ensure that we're able to increase, multiply our monies through innovation affordably. So, innovate in healthcare, health tech, so that we can afford an essential aspect of life. Health becomes affordable, because then that's the bottom line, right? We want to be able to afford, taking care of our lives. So if you come as an entrepreneur and you promise the world, this is what I'm going to do, it's actually criminal, in fact. Of course, I'm being a bit too much, but it's, in fact, you owe it. You've made a promise, a social contract. You should be blaming yourself. I should be apologetic to the world for making that social contract, promising to deliver, right, value, to make access to law affordable, easy, and I'm still not there 10 years down the line. I owe an apology to me. But I cannot just get here and say, why are you not celebrating with me? Why are you not, pushing? No. Why are you not seeing the struggle? No, absolutely not. Where's the value? She said you'll give us value. You said you'll make access to law and lawyers easy, affordable. Iko wapi? Where is it? Sasa wewe, hii maneno iko wapi? So, at the end of the day, the world will not accept and celebrate valueless value. Let's create value. Let's understand that the pain in the journey of creating value is one and the same as the value itself. Right? We owe a social contract as entrepreneurs to the world, right? In everything we do. And if you say you're going to do something, put it out there for the good of humanity. The humanity will wait until you do it. But do not ask humanity to celebrate you, to validate you, to, because the world doesn't care about valueless value. So find your space in this, middle space. Create value. The beauty is that if you create value, everything else just falls into place. Because that's what making money is all about, creating value. I always hear people say in Swahili, natafuta do. Looking for money. In Nigeria here, so say, nonya money, nonya sente, looking for money. But let us not look at that really, because that's mistaken. And until we understand that money is just but an exchange for value, right? As young people, we'll always be, flipping. And I'm not saying that, it will just flip to be easy. No. 100% not. In fact, you create value, right? And then you find that, yes, there's value, the world is accepting and taking your value, but now you have to defend that value. Now you have to harvest for that because it has to be sustainable. People are not just going to come and hand over things to you. People will see value and they would want even to just take the value and not even give you what you owed in return for the value. Those are valuables. Those are things that will happen. So it's not for you to sit there and just think it's not gonna be easy. And do not feel bad that you have to be in that journey, in that fight of even protect value. Because remember you were fighting so hard to create value. Now you've created value because you didn't care about now I've given you value. Hey, so pay me. Yeah, there will be people who will be, if you don't guard the value, they will just take the value. We're animals, unfortunately. That's human nature. So even don't feel bad for protecting value. Be ruthless. Do what you have to do. Right? Do not think that in you protecting the value, okay, you have, then the people are not caring about your struggles. No, people do, but they want it affordably, as cheap as it can get, as fast as possible. There will be bad elements. So that's don't discuss, because it is one thing to get success. It's another thing to protect and actually grow success. Continue. It is one thing to make money. It's another thing to retain and grow money. So, if we always remember that the drive is understand that you're creating value, focus on the value and value creation. However, it's still your responsibility to protect the value, because the bad elements would come to eat into the value, take it for free. Those are enemies of progress. That means that the business will not be sustainable. You can't continue to do the business. At the end of the day, it also means that they are going to also affect the right element. So will you just sit down there, fold your hands, and you see people, the bad elements, destroy value? No. However, you cannot allow yourself to feel sad. Just sit there and moan. You must protect value. So, I know this is a long video, and I hope that, you find value. And again, if you don't find value, I cannot blame. My heart and soul going forward, is always in one place. In fact, I'll be honest with the community. This, as we've been talking, it has actually really just hit me, and I think that because I've had all these thoughts, all along, but I didn't exactly know what it would be in a sense, and this is fantastic even for me. So, because now, like for this YouTube channel, like I began with no subscriber. We're now in 81, 82, I think 81. Of course, the views keep dropping and upping, But then I cannot sit here, because I actually began this YouTube channel because I believe that there would be someone out there who might need this kind of, discussion. Perhaps my message would speak to someone based on because this is my experience. This is how I see the world. This is how I relate, and again, I felt like, why not share? I mean, there's no harm. But now I feel like the more I do it, the more I want, more people. Then you start thinking, oh, okay, why is this video not getting this? But everyone doesn't care. This community wouldn't care, even when they do, but they wouldn't care if I don't create value. So in the same spirit, if I did a video and there was no view, surely, no one really, it's not interesting, right? Because if it were interesting enough, I can assure you, one person would view, they would definitely share with another person. So obviously, it is not for me to sit here and feel bad, like, oh, I'm talking sense, and people are not happy. It is not, I'm talking nonsense. So why should I expect a video like this to go viral when I'm talking valueless nonsense? That would be definitely so stupid of me, for lack of better word. However, it doesn't mean that I should stop. But if there's one person who finds sense, then I'm happy. I would my wish would have been that, I'm creating value, I'm making sense to 1 billion people, 1 million people, 100,000 people, But there are so many factors. Maybe I've not reached. Maybe the reach is not enough in a way because I just post and share on my status, and so it's a closed community. I have not probably made enough effort in terms of marketing and things like that, because I think for me, I'm happy with the way the numbers and the way it's growing, because I feel that it's actually serving the purpose, right? My desire is, of course, to reach as many people as I can. Some people like Musa always tell me, I think you need to get into a hole. But, at the end of the day, some people tell me, the videos are long, the videos are... But then, that means it's not the value that you thought this person would want. So I will not sit here and be sorry, be mad to this community for not seeing value in my valueless video. No. Neither will I, at the same time, just let maybe 1 or 2 elements, right, discourage me from continuing, and yet the other people are seeing value. You know what I mean? So, like, it has to be a fight that you take on. Okay? If you choose to take it on. Take it on knowing that it is fully and completely and totally and absolutely your responsibility. If you don't create value, the world doesn't care. You don't care. Yes, the journey has been tough. Perfect, good for you. Right? And it would be tough because then, you would have a lot of stress and all that. Fine, too bad, do something else. Or continue refining whatever it is that you're doing until it breeds value. Okay? Define what would be enough value for you to sustain. So if you have one consumer, are they able to pay enough for you to sustain this or that? If not, then figure it out. Learn, teach yourself, ask, invest more, find resources, do what has to be done. Knowing that at the end of the day, what you're doing is creating value. I think that should be what is motivating. And I think for me, even like the takeaway from this discussion, even for me, and sorry for the long video, because this has been quite an interesting thought process, even for me as I was talking about this topic. Because at the end of the day, if you're able to focus on that value you're creating, knowing that if you fail or succeed, it is either determined by delivering that value that is attractive enough, or failing to deliver value attractive enough that you don't have enough consumers to sustain the creation. Because everything you're doing in the process, it's like a production chain, right? The money you're spending, the people you're hiring, the machinery and technology and all these things, it's all aimed at creating that value, right? But if it's not creating enough value, then go back to the drawing table, ask yourself, why? But being careful enough, because I have always seen that's where even me, like speaking for my experience, we find ourselves, especially as entrepreneurs, stuck, because you don't place the value, the product, that is value creation, independent. I think you need to understand that this has nothing got to do with you and your well-being, in the sense that it is not you're not just doing it for you, for your personal well-being, or it will be part of your well-being, in fact, if you create the value, because then you'd have that good feel factor. It will bring money to you. You can take care of your health and all that. However, when especially it's the process is becoming too expensive, too difficult, too long, there's always a chance that it will get to your head, it will get to your health, it will affect you a lot, especially from a negative point of view. You could be stressed, depressed, exhausted, out of funds. You can't, eat well, you can't take care of your family, you can't take care of yourself. So, no, you always have to remember that you and the end and the process, the value, which is the end product, and the process of value are not distinguishable. It's one and the same, right? It's the process. So at the end of the day, okay, place yourself, because assuming you're going to create different value segments all the time, how you will die. So, but it's not easy, good people. It's absolutely not easy. I will not sit here and just lie to you, to this community, lie to myself, that it's easy to distinguish the value and look at it from that angle, in isolation of what you go through, the process. I won't even lie to you that it's easy to not to feel bad when you're cooking and people just go and wait for you to come back, and when the food is ready, and it will be very eager to even criticize it. I'm not saying it's easy for you to run a lonely marathon, knowing that the people waiting to cheer you at the end, right? And you're actually running for them, to save them, or to do. No. It is absolutely 1000%, 100% difficult. But if you think of the start of the marathon, and understand that the only reason why this marathon started in the very first place was for you to create value, then ask yourself, have you created the value? And the answer is not yet. So you say bado, Tunaba in Kampala. Then come back to the table. Do not stop. Okay? However, do not look at that process as pattern, as you like put it, take it out and have it. It's something that it is here. It has to be done. I have to get it there, and I need to be at my very best mental space. I need to be at my very best body space, physical space, internal health, kila kitu, everything to deliver this value, and I have to do it. In fact, I have a social contract out there. I promised 7 years ago that I'll bring, an innovation. I'll bridge the gap between law and people, and use leverage technology and design. It has to happen. It is happening. It will have to happen. And the only way I will see value is if it's being used, for example, by millions of people. That hasn't happened. It is not for the world to drum roll me on the way. Neither should I be like, oh, then rub it in the world's face when now, the world celebrates you because you've succeeded. The same way you shouldn't feel bad about people not caring, the world not caring. Then you shouldn't also feel like, okay, I told you. Then you start to feel like, you've done too much, and then now you're rubbing it on the world. No. You should be able to look at it from the sense that, okay, value created, value accepted, value sustainable, value scalable. Next. And you continue and continue and continue and continue. I'm really glad that I actually have had spent time today to go through this thought process. Because it's quite an interesting way to look at it. I've never done a 1 hour video. This is also the first one for me. However, it is great value created here. So, we can go on and on and on and on, but I hope that you find this video of value, and that's all I can say. If you find it of value, share, give feedback, comment. If you don't find of value, it's okay. It's not your fault. Probably we need to do better. And I don't even necessarily mean, it doesn't mean I need to do better. It simply means I'm not speaking to your value proposition. I'm not adding anything that would help you be a better person. So that means I need to, maybe I'll catch you in the next one, or I need to understand why, and but also if you share, I'll be as 100% to mean the world to me, and it would equally increase the reach. Okay, it would give me satisfaction that in fact I am putting value, because at the end of the day, if I'm not doing what I have to do, of course, increasingly, I think as I also grow in business, I'm starting to get a high appetite for, doing things. Like if I start something, I want it to be the very best it can be. I don't know. I'm also trying to observe these things, but it's interesting. Like I have a high appetite now for learning more than I used to have. I just want to hear something. I just want to Google or search about it. Now I feel like, because I'm always driven by, like, personally, it would, like, if I own a brand and it's out there, and I'm driving on the street, or I'm walking on the street, or I'm on the social media streets, and I'm able to see a brand that that is out there and is creating jobs. Oh my God, like for me, that's like value created. That's a win, because the more jobs we create, the more money we put in people's pockets, the more independence we create, the more economic freedom we create, the more capacity, for consumers, even if you're a business, because people have to be able to spend. So for me, like, you guys, job creation is a very, 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 very critical thing, and I really shout out to everyone who is doing anything and everything, creating that one job, creating that one value, making the world a better place, enabling people to have at least capacity to live life on their terms, by putting money in their pockets, and having meaningful opportunities. So those things really mean the world to me, and really sometimes I feel like when I sit here and talk, I personally also get motivated, and I feel like it's very important, to have these conversations. Obviously, value may not be to everyone, the value that I believe I'm creating, but I'm happy and I'm satisfied that there would be one or two people out there that would see value, and for me, that's what I ask for. And I hope that even when this video is long, you will see value. Like this topic has been, I think, so dear to me. I have learned a lot in talking about it. I have reflected a lot in this space, and I think that really the world, at the end of the day, does not and will not and should not accept or celebrate valueless value. I hope to catch you in the next one. Asante sana. Thank you very much for spending this time. Mungu abariki. God bless you. Mungu abariki Africa. God bless Africa. Richard out. Kwaheri.